States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right. We need attendance.
Townsend,
Present.
Mock,
Present.
Williams, present. Malcolm,
Here.
Matt, present.
Okay. Did anyone sign up for public comment? Nope. Okay. We're moving on to consent agenda. We've got claims, the monthly reports, and the minutes in for your information. And then we just need an approval to, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda items, A, B, and C.
Motion to approve consent agenda items A through C.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion on those? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that has been approved. Okay, so we have some donations that we would like to recognize. We had $100 from Michael and Tracy Davis to go towards the elementary student activities, and $500 from Michael Dowling at Dowling Logistics to go towards the 5th grade trip to Camp Tecumseh. We really appreciate those donations, but we do need a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve.
I will second.
Any discussion?
No, just thank you for that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that has been approved. We're moving on to new business and employment. Under employment, we've got consent agendas A through T, quite a few activities going on. They're there for your review, and we're just looking to have a motion to approve employment items, consent items A through T.
Motion to approve consent items A through T.
Is there a second?
Second, please.
Any discussion? Oh, you said,
I think you can hold it one
I
second.
thought you said he seconded. I was like, okay.
Sound okay?
I can't hear
Very
you.
convincing.
He did do a second.
Okay, did it in a second, okay, so
Yeah,
do we
so-
need discussion or?
Yep.
Brittany did first.
Yep.
All right,
Second.
no discussion, we just need,
Could be done.
Carrie.
All right.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That has been approved. Okay, moving on to item B, we've got some information. We're looking for approval of the professional service agreement between Wes-Del Community Schools and Commonwealth Engineers for engineering services associated with the district's wastewater utility improvement project. The agreement includes preliminary and final design, bidding and negotiation services, and identified additional engineering and regulatory services.
Yeah, so, and I'll jump in. We do have Rob Belushi here to speak on behalf of the Commonwealth. So we appreciate Rob being here for the board and for the community, just so everybody's aware. This isn't the actual project, the wastewater project. This is the preliminary stages we look at as we go into this. So just the heads up, I want to give a breakdown. 340,000 of this is basic engineer services that we're looking at through the project. 155 are for identified additional services. So what we're looking at is overall 495,000, and this is with the permitted reimbursable expenses. You are not approving the actual construction contract or the full cost of engineering services. So I want to let everybody know that this is kind of getting the project kick-started. So with that being said, Rob, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, Andy. So as Andy mentioned, this is kind of the next step in the process, right? I've been in meetings with you folks several years, trying to culminate to this point. As a reminder, the overall intent is to get the school out of the wastewater treatment business, right? You guys got more important things to focus on. And this is the next step in the process. It's a collaboration between the school district, Delaware County, and the town of Gaston. Generally speaking, what we're talking about doing is decommissioning the wastewater treatment plant, taking it out of service, all in accordance with item requirements. That's the construction piece of it. And then also constructing a lift station and of course a main that will send your waste flows to the town of Gaston. It will reduce your operational costs, put you kind of in a better, more reliable position moving forward so you can focus your funds on other things, right? The intent behind it is that the school would become a customer of the sewer district, the county sewer district. Sewer district would then be tasked with owning and operating and maintaining the infrastructure moving forward. The county has currently committed $500,000 to the Development Commission. And just as a reminder, we put this project into the state through the Indiana Finance Authority State Revolving Loan Fund Program for funding consideration. The top 10 projects out of, and I don't know if you've shared this with them, I can leave it with you, okay? So a total of 86 projects were submitted just for wastewater projects. Those were the ones that were ranked. There's still another almost full page of projects where applications were submitted, but they weren't scored. Or they weren't ranked for one reason or another because they're not ready or so on and so forth. The top 10 projects were ranked. The last project in what they refer to as the quote fundable range for this fiscal year scored an 80. Our project scored 76. So we're right there, right? And there's still a chance yet this year that we may receive communication from the state saying, hey, some of these guys in front of you in line aren't ready to go. Are you guys going to be in a position to potentially close this fiscal year? The answer to that would be wholeheartedly sure if you're going to consider funding us this fiscal year. And just to show we're serious, which is why I'm here tonight, we want to get started on design, be in a position where we can have, really this time next year, we would have bids in hand, right? We'd be picking a contractor. This gets us through the design, it gets us through all the permits that we need, it gets us through easements between here and Gaston, gets us to a point where we can go out on the street publicly, accept bids, and then see how things shake out from there. So that's what my contract before you folks today is. The intent would be, as I mentioned before, the county's already committed funding to this project for redevelopment, with the concept that the county would take over maintenance of the facility when it's done. We would contract separately for like construction engineering and inspection during construction. That would be done through the county and not be done through you guys. That doesn't mean that you would be included in monthly progress meetings and be provided updates monthly at your board meetings, but that's kind of how the arrangement is shaking out so far. In addition to the commitment from the county and the potential financing that we're looking at through the state, we've already put the feelers out on behalf of the project team to the federal government for what they call congressional discretionary spending, I think is it's CDS funding, right? And it's the old days now coming full circle, really. It's your local representatives in Washington being your advocates to get funding consideration to help on these types of projects. I believe the initial ask was for the full amount. It made the cut, but at a reduced amount. And I can't remember if we either made the cut through the House and now it's on to the Senate or vice versa. But we're still in excess of $1 million that's being pushed forward to the next step in Washington. If that makes it through the next step and gets included in their budget as a line item, it will be for next year. And the actual funds themselves are a grant program administered through the federal EPA, and they're reimbursable. So what does that mean to you folks? It means any money that you invest up front, for example, what I have presented to you tonight for consideration, could be reimbursed once the grant is approved. You just have to show that you've already made payment and invested the money, then you submit that to the EPA and then they reimburse you. So that process is also going kind of simultaneous and parallel to the state SRF part of it, okay? And like I said, Delaware County RDC's made an investment, doesn't necessarily mean that we would come back to the table if we felt like we need to with them, but there are certainly other players that are committing funds to this initiative. And we're in a good spot. I had about an hour-long phone call with the engineer for the SRF program last Friday. And she was very pleased to see that this thing was pushing along. And she said, this is gonna look really good. If we don't come down to you this year, you know, we're at 19, only 4 points out of the fundable range. We said it doesn't make it down to you this year, it's gonna look really good next year. When you come back and say, hey, don't forget, we were on the list last year, halfway down the first page. I'm sure some of these others got funded. There will be more applications, but we're ready to go. And that's kind of the other piece on why we're doing this. Let's not wait, because the state gets these applications all the time where people have pipe dreams. And they're always a little leery about whether or not they want to move forward with the financing offers. This is a tremendous opportunity to show we're serious about what we're doing. We're going to do it, whether you want to join us or not. And I think it will improve our score going into next year as well. So that's a lot of information in about 10 minutes, but that's kind of the 30,000-foot overview on where we're at right now.
Yeah. So for the board, do you guys have questions
Yes.
for Rob?
So in review, you say we're at 19, top 10 gets awarded, correct?
So
For this year, for this physical year.
When
What
they-
we're going to do today is approve money towards 2026. Does this money carry over to 2027
It does.
opportunity?
It does. It absolutely does. And I'm gonna leave this list with you guys, okay? This is their final formal list that comes out in July. The state's obviously, I don't know, you guys understand this year is state?
Yeah.
It starts July 1.
Yeah.
When they publish their initial list, you kind of can see this heavier line right here, right? That's where they identify their initial fundable range.
Mhm.
They then reach out to each one of these
Check
projects.
to see if it's.
Are you guys ready? Are you guys seriously gonna be in a position to close on a financing this fiscal year? Normally, not all of them are ready to go. All right, we're pushing so that we can show that we would be if these guys say no and it makes it down to us, okay? We wanna put ourselves in that position regardless. What I'm presenting to you guys for approval tonight, whether they get to us this year or it spills into July of next year, you're gonna be ready to go. It just doesn't change what I'm doing. I'm trying to get bids in hand so I can say, hey, we're ready for you guys, let's go.
And for some odd reason, we're not this year, next year, it just ups the ante more so for us to
It
get awarded.
improves our position.
It will give us better score.
Yeah.
We should, not only because we're showing that we're ready.
We have funds to back it and
This
show
is
it.
the other thing I'm gonna leave with you guys. This is our score sheet. This is what the state used to come up with our number. As soon as we get these, we immediately schedule meetings with the state. We've already gone through this with the individual that reviewed our application at the state, and they've given us some pointers on where
Things that
we.
we can approve.
Yep,
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So this is all a good thing in my mind. You guys are positioning yourselves very well. And I think we'll absolutely, if they don't get down to us this year, I think we'll absolutely.
And then for the sake of this conversation, when I came in, so all through last year, we procured bonds, we earmarked, so the 495,000 that we have on this project right here to get everything kickstarted, this is our earmark, the bonds we had. So we already have the funds in place. Kind of like Rob was saying, this is really kind of icing on the cake for us. We've seen ourselves on this, and this is the same document that you guys had seen previous to me. What we've seen is we went up the list quite substantially. This last step showing that, hey, right now we're looking with engineers, we're trying to go through all of this process. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but they start that process again typically in the spring, right?
They do, and they're actually gonna move the application deadline up a month.
So,
because they want people to get their applications in late February, early March to show that you're not just throwing something in there at the 11th hour.
Another question for the county, does their portion valid for 2027 as well?
It is.
Their commitment.
yeah, their commitment's good, it's solid. Because as a matter of fact, well, Bill, I was supposed to call Bill this afternoon, I had a number of meetings, he actually called me, so yes, I don't want to speak for Bill and the county, but the intent is that we're going to use that money towards the project 100%.
Those funds don't have an expiration.
They don't.
They've already been appropriated.
And that was approved during their April or May.
Yeah, it
meeting.
was back late spring.
Yeah, so it's been approved at the county level, really it's just sitting in the account waiting for us to ask for it, of which through this process, I'll be very clear to the board, I've asked that the county help with this process. I didn't get an opportunity to talk to Bill, because the reality is if we're fitting in 495,000, maybe some of the money the county can commit to it can help. I haven't talked to Bill on that yet, supposed to talk to him today, but I don't want to say we can do it without getting his.
And that'd be my main concern.
Yeah.
Is right now, if we say yes, all 495 comes from us. Is that correct?
On this piece of it.
On this piece?
Yes.
I guess if the county's committing, why is the county not approving? And then we just go in and we do a halfies on this here.
That's a very good
I
question.
mean, I'm just saying, I'm for this and everyone knows that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and I know there's a commitment and I know it's there, how's come that commitment's not going together at the same time here at the beginning there?
And that's a very good question, and I'll be very transparent about it.
Yeah.
And I'll be very transparent. We got approval for the 500,000. That was back in the spring.
Right.
Fast forward to roughly a month ago, we started. I think that maybe I got this contract within the last month. It's been within a month's time. I did reach out to Bill Walters on that. I sent him an email. He's a very busy guy.
Sure.
He didn't respond within the first week of that email. So at that juncture, we had the board meeting coming up. And like I said, I was supposed to talk to him today, didn't have the time. So I wanted to get that formal, that verbal, hey, this is what we can do, this is what we can net. I didn't get to that today. So that's where I'm at.
So Rob, let me ask you a question. This is a meeting that was scheduled later than what we normally do.
Sure.
So we have another meeting coming up.
We have one September 9th, which is only in 2 weeks' time.
It's only in 2 weeks' time. I don't know how the other board members feel, but I almost just feel like that commitment probably needs to be shared equally here at the very beginning. And at least try that. That gives us 2 weeks. Is that going to affect anything on your end? And I know I don't know their schedule, bars, meetings and stuff like that. I don't know. But I assume redevelopment's the one that did it.
They did. RDC is who committed the funds.
Who's committed funds. So they're at the very beginning of the month.
That one I'm not 100% certain on. I know the sewer district meets.
I actually-
But that's not, the money didn't come from the
No,
sewer
it
district. It
came
came
from
from,
RDC.
redevelopment. So that's my only concern. Nothing that I'm opposed to anything, but I just feel like here we're gonna work together and I kind of like working together financially as well. And,
I don't disagree with that at all, and you're correct, they have made that commitment.
yes,
From my standpoint, I mean, I'll be transparent too, right? And open with you guys. I would rather have one contract and then figure out either somebody's invoicing somebody for a reimbursement or I have to send 2 bills, right?
now I've worked with different projects and I've sent 2 bills out and that was more
Well,
than that.
believe me, I'll send it.
Yeah.
It just,
Yeah.
it gets confusing.
Sure,
Commission meeting's the day after our next meeting.
okay.
So our meeting's the 9th, theirs is the 10th.
The,
Redevelopment Commission. Okay,
yeah, I think you're gonna wanna have a discussion with Bill.
Yeah.
To see what or how those funds need to be accessed.
Yeah, like I said, there was nothing that was explained about restrictions on the funding. But like I said, I don't want to.
right, no, I get it, 100%.
What I would like for you folks to consider, can you put the breakdown back up on the screen for me? Zoom around that, yeah. What I would like to get started on, even if the approach is gonna be, I'm sorry. If the approach is gonna be, let's pursue at least on the front end, a split, knowing that even when we get to construction and inspection and all that stuff, it may come back full circle on us. What I would like to at least do is get authorization from you folks to start on prelim, but also start on survey. Because that gets my guys out here to do survey up the county road to Gaston, and I can get started pulling deeds and easements and whatnot. Those are the two things that are most important for me, that, final design and permitting and all that stuff, we've got time on that, but if you've had to deal with easements on anything, it could take time, and I would like to get started on that.
Sure, and I agree, I'm fine with that. The only thing is, I had those two numbers together, and then we're back up there at the 330. Am I doing that wrong?
Do you have the breakdown for the?
Well, you got it written right up there.
I don't need this whole amount.
Okay.
This is, and just so you folks understand, basic services are lump sums for me, okay? The additional services are hourlies, estimated hours. So if I work an hour, I bill it. I don't necessarily bill out the full amount. What I would seek authorization from you guys on, the preliminary design number is 186.
Okay.
The survey, and I think easements are the two other things that I would like you to consider. Where are we at? Survey's 50. So what does that put me at?
236.
And
Can't
then,
read the last number.
186 and one.
and then easements are 20.
So 186.
So 186 plus 70 gets me
256.
through easements and survey, and I can start field work and whatnot. It's about half.
That's about
Yeah.
half.
Yeah.
I think it's the ball rolling.
Yeah, because the biggest issue, and then that was what we spoke about in the spring of last year, about going through the easements and being able to have to go to the door, knock on doors and try to figure all that out.
And if you want, when we do these construction contracts, like when we have bids, we hire, you guys, I'm sure you did the same thing when you did some of your other improvements around here. You issue a notice to proceed, right, when you're ready. I can draft basically a notice to proceed document that very clearly states authorizing prelim design survey easements, right? And it can be attached to this while we work through your discussions with RDC and see how they want to work out the split on the rest of it. But that at least gets us going so we can start this process of talking to property owners, because that's going to be the most important thing for you guys. So what, how these county roads are in Delaware County, property lines go out to the center line of the road. And we're going to have fun getting from point A to point B, and I'd rather start that discussion now than wait until later.
So I guess, at this juncture, you'd have to make a motion, to $255,000 for
Okay.
just, preliminary design. And
And the survey.
The prelim survey
easement.
and the easement for 256.
Yeah,
I mean, the survey was how much?
Easement, survey was
Survey's
50, but it's hourly. Okay, so it's gonna be invoiced as an hourly. If we don't use it, we don't use it all, right? And easement is 20,000, easement.
Is that hourly also?
That is, those two are hourlies.
Okay.
Those are under the hourly additional services.
And the preliminary design
Prelim
is
will be
a lump
lump
sum.
sum.
Set.
Yes.
And that was 30.
No, 20,
20.
for a total of 256.
So we're gonna be looking for approval of the agreement to start the survey, easement, and preliminary designs.
And I will assemble the notice to proceed, and I'll email it to Andy tomorrow.
Okay.
and that was at 255, are we in agreement with that?
256.
256, so
Yeah.
$256,000.
Lump sum for the preliminary design, 50 cents, or approximately 50,000 for survey, which will be hourly, and $20,000 approximate for easement, which is also billed hourly. So we need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that has been approved.
So I have two copies. this.
Again,
Leave it with you.
yeah, you can leave, yeah,
Now, this was set up for your signature. Is that done right, or does it need to be changed?
let me ask you this, we don't have our legal counsel, since we have an alteration to the agreement, should we have strike a new agreement, or?
I would, because I
I
mean,
think
we're
they're-
talking about a dollar amount, then if the county says, no, we're gonna wait at a different time, we have to come back
At
and
least
revisit
amendment
that.
or something.
What's that?
At least an amendment to the.
Amendment to the original.
Yeah, if we could just have an amendment to the original.
You guys haven't approved it. It'd be just as easy for me to change this.
Okay.
Okay,
that's fine.
okay,
I can change it, we'll say that, we can do one of two ways, right? I can change this to only identify prelim survey and easements.
Yep.
Still gonna be the same 80 pager.
oh, you're right, so you're just changing.
Changing the.
Or I'll draft that notice to proceed, which is also set up for signature, that only authorizes those three things. And then you can run it past your legal counsel and see if they'll be sufficient with that, because I can't, that then prohibits me from doing anything else until either you or RDC authorizes another phase. I'll do it however you want, I just,
Maybe ask legal
We got
and then go from
options.
there.
I think probably going legal route would make the most sense, just so, because typically they would be here, I just feel comfortable, no offense to the Commonwealth.
You're not-
It was just, I wanna make.
I'm gonna get my guy scheduled.
Yeah, go
Whether we
ahead.
sign this tonight or not.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for explaining and working this out too.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
this is extra time, and thank you.
Look, I get it.
no,
This is my wheelhouse, not necessarily you guys' wheelhouse, so I'll do whatever I need to do to be flexible.
yeah, so with that being said, Rob, certainly appreciate everything. And like I said, been working with Rob now, this is about a year and a half time we've been working on this, and he's been very thorough with the documentation, very upfront and honest about all of this, and also doing a lot of legwork behind the scenes no one sees. He's talking to dignitaries of the state that I don't even know who they are. Certainly appreciate all of that.
Yeah, no worries. I'll draft that notice to proceed. I'll email it to you, share it with the board.
Yep.
And then run it past your attorney.
Yep.
And if that's sufficient, fine. If you want me to wipe all the other stuff out of the base document, I can do that too.
I'll get your
Because it's all
response,
DocuSign, right? It doesn't take much to wipe it.
push it out.
Push it out.
So what I'll do is I'll talk with legal counsel and I'll get you a response by tomorrow, and then we'll move forward.
That's fine. Just the other thing, if I need to change it to set up for her signature, let me know. Because right now it's got you signing it, somebody else attesting.
Okay, gotcha. That should work. That should be fine.
All right, thank you. We
Yeah,
appreciate
you guys got
all
any
your work.
questions?
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Rob.
We will make it a point to attend your meetings moving forward, just to give you an update on how things are moving along. If for some reason there's schedule conflicts, at a minimum, you'll get like a summary memo that I'll provide to Andy that he can share with you guys. But the plan will be for myself or one of my associates to come to your meetings, just to give you a quick 5-minute update on how things are moving.
Do we have an idea of when the CDS funding gets finalized, or we would hear more about that?
So it's gonna be next year, okay? Because we're still going through the appropriation process in Washington. It goes through the House, it has to be approved, then it goes through the Senate, it has to be approved, then it becomes a line item in next year's budget. They haven't passed next year's budget yet. So we're in that process to secure our spot on the budget. And the term that I was hesitant to use, because I know I'm being recorded, is what he used when he was talking about the bond that you guys already took care of on your end, that word that begins with ear and ends with mark. That's what they called them back in the day, and they kind of went away, and now they're kind of a thing again. And that's really what this is, right? Is your federal representation is going to bat for you trying to get money appropriated in the federal budget for this project. Right now, once it gets approved and the budget gets adopted by the House and Senate and Trump signs it, then gets punted over to the EPA and they administer the grant. All right, so to your question, it'll be next year before we find out, which is fine, really, because as I mentioned, it's reimbursement, right? Because you're not gonna get that money until you show you've paid money, right? Show you paid money, submit the reimbursement request, then they pay you
But
back.
that would give us, if we have that information that it has been budgeted. In our
This could
scoreboard,
potentially be all reimbursable.
right, but in our score for getting the,
Oh,
that would
yeah,
help,
we're gonna go.
that would help with the
Absolutely.
point
So
system.
because now there's the school, county,
And,
the state,
yeah,
and the federal. You've got 4 potential players in your funding.
so that makes it look like a much
Yeah,
more.
absolutely.
agreed.
Well, the other thing is that because it's administered through the EPA program, they actually work hand in hand with the state. You wouldn't even have made it past the first cut if we wouldn't have been on that list. That's one of the requirements for that grant program is we've got to be on an SRF PPO. So the SRFs, whether they admit it or not, is kind of already aware that we're in this process. The EPA is well aware because they know we're on this. That's why we made the first cut, right? So it's amazing how, it's kind of all incestuous, I guess, right? They're all kind of commingled in some shape, form, or fashion. The SRF program is subsidized by the EPA. So having this other grant program, this other pile of EPA money is potentially available to us to keep moving it down the line, right? It's all kind of money coming from the same spot administered by 2 different entities.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rob.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys' time on.
Yeah, we appreciate you making the trek over here too.
Yep, no worries.
Safe travels.
I'm
Stay
doing
home.
it, thank you.
You said, when's the date of the next meeting?
The 9th, September 9th.
September 9th.
6 o'clock. same
Yep,
time.
same time, so,
Second Wednesday
yeah.
every month.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
That's the Wednesday after Labor Day, right?
Mhm.
Yes. Awesome. All right.
Thank
folks.
you.
Have a good night. Safe travels.
All right, so next item on the agenda, we've got resolutions number 13. Resolution for the Board of Trustees regarding the sale of real estate property.
Yes, so, as we started the process of, getting rid of the old bank unit, the Star Financial Bank unit, when I worked with legal counsel, we came across that Indiana code that we need to make sure we adhere by. So obviously we have interest in the bank building. So what I had to do for Indiana code was seek out 2 appraisals from 2 different appraisal companies. The issue I ran into was there's not a lot of commercial appraisal companies in the Delaware County area. The second appraisal, it should be coming this week from Richmond, Indiana. So I had to reach out. Our legal counsel gave us a recommendation for another appraisal service. So really what we have to do in addition to that is post a resolution of the board of trustees of the Wes-Del School Corporation regarding the sale of the real property. So we have to post this as a statutory requirement. And basically stating that we've conveyed to the school corporation, so basically 201 West Elm Street, Gaston, Indiana, which were conveyed to the school corporation as a gift after having been owned by Star Financial Bank with the intent of the property to benefit the school corporation. So we have to let people know in the local community that's no longer deemed a school building, and that's kind of the process we're looking at. So the overall appraisal, which took place on June 26th, 2026, was prepared by Daniel Tudor, valued the main property at $94,000. The excess land at $8,000, and a property range of a sell between $90,000 and $115,000. So the appraisal between a $90,000 and $115,000. And keep in mind, this is the first one. We haven't got the second one, and I'll be forthcoming to let you guys know. So the parcels are identified on here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 different parcels. 2 of those are actually on the track with the bank, and then 2 are right beside it, which would have been, I'd assume, a playground right beside there. So those are the 2 tracks. The school superintendent is authorized to sell the bank parcels pursuant to the state statute, and all monies derived from the sale of the bank parcel shall be placed in the corporation's operations fund. So it just defines that. So at that juncture, I just need approval from the board for resolution 13 on the sale of real property.
Motion to approve the sale of real property.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, that has been approved.
So with that being said, if there's anybody interested in the building, you can bring forward any interest you have. I know we have people from the community here that are very eager to have the building or want the building. So if you could send us what your desire is that you think the building's worth, and what we're going to do is we're going to let everybody know kind of where the appraisals come in, and then see where the offers come in, and then we'll come back with you guys once that time comes. So, does the board have any questions on the sale of the bank property? And I don't want to be lighthearted about this. Certainly appreciate Star Bank. It's a big deal for someone to give you a property. They've been very forthcoming with the transfer of the property. I've worked very closely with the bank. So at the end of the day, it's a gift that continues to give to us. So a gift that keeps on giving. So I appreciate Star Bank and everybody there to help us, and appreciate the interest in our community members to bolster Gaston. It's really exciting.
There's no other questions. We will move on to next agenda item. We've got the first reading of, so the board policy update. So we've got the first reading of batch number 4, the August policies that we've had for our review.
And I shared these with the board, but I'm going to give you what I call 30,000 foot view over each one. We have 9 policies for this batch. So I apologize. We're looking at batch 4, correct?
Batch 4.
Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't get ahead of myself. Okay, so the first one is B10, board authority and philosophy. The big picture is this establishes why the board exists and where the authority comes from. In plain English, the board governs, the administration runs the district, and that's kind of what that policy looks like. B125 is school board leadership and support. The big picture is the board defines roles, which are the board president, the vice president, secretary, treasurer, legal counsel, professional organizations, and the president runs the meetings. This is the board's internal leadership structure and financial legal support system. So that's a definition of all your roles and all of those. B175 is school board functions. The big picture is that this describes the board's major responsibilities: hire superintendent, adopt policy, act as the impartial body when conducting hearings, approve major contracts, employment, budgets, and financial obligations. So big picture, the board makes the big governance decisions, the superintendent figures out how to carry them out. School board membership, and this one is a rule book of being a Wes-Del school board member, where you live, how you can be elected for it, so it's outlined for all of that. B225 is school board meetings, how we operate them, open door policy, everything is governed through the state of Indiana through the open door policy. It's just procedural roadmap for conducting our board meetings. Board superintendent relationship, D150. Let's see. Really, this one breaks down how the board and the superintendent work, but the reality is board is here for governance and superintendent is here for the management and the submittal of policies to the board for approval. D175, board and staff communications. This one's more of a chain of command. It's chain of command where if we have an issue that's at the building level, it needs to go to the building level. It doesn't need to go straight to the board. And this is no offense to the board. The reality is at times board members get inundated and questioned and all the things. So really putting a policy to protect you guys in those situations. But basically the chain of command between the board and employees, official staff communications to the board should generally go through the superintendent. And board directives to staff should otherwise flow through the superintendent. Staff should first use their supervisor administrative chain. Board members can certainly interact socially with employees, but they should not independently get involved in confidential personal issues, grievances, negotiations, student due process, or litigation. So it's more of a safekeeping for the board members. The next one is H225, which is public comments and concerns, of which we've kind of altered it just a slight bit, but moving forward, it'd be 2 minutes per person, and a lot of this language is based on Indiana code. So it's not that I've tweaked this and made it my own or made it Wes-Del's own. Mainly, it's Indiana code, especially with the advent of recording all of our meetings and all of that. We've seen some hostility in board meetings. So having a really good framework with the policies in place, just make it so we can run a governing board meeting and not have disruptions. But speakers must register 24 hours in advance. You get 2 minutes, and the total public comment period is capped at 30 minutes in total.
You said they have to register 24 hours before?
Yes, so our past policy, so if we were to go to public comment on here, our current policy is 10 days. And and to be quite honest, we haven't adhered to that policy. We had an issue that took place in May of last year. The reality is they're supposed to be, based on our last policy, it's 10 days. This would be 24 hours.
So somebody walks in and sits down at a meeting right now, and we say, hey, there's any public comment, we really don't have to adhere to that.
No.
So
And the reality is, like, our previous policy, it was 10 days.
sure, which I was unaware, and I don't agree with that. But
Yeah. So what I try to do is keep it the shortest amount so we can have public comment. The idea is not to stifle the community, to be able to have a conversation.
But doesn't that do that? Because that person can't speak. If we say, hey, sorry, you got to give us a 24-hour notice. So the next time they can speak, a lot of our meetings is only one per month. It would be another 30 days. Because I wasn't aware of that policy being 10 days. So if I walked in here and I'd be like, okay, was not aware of that, my own fault. But I'm sure there's a lot of other people who'd be the same way, wanting to bring something up in discussion. So I guess this seems odd to me.
Yeah, so, and this is 100% Indiana code. Like I said, our attorneys give us this, and this has been the same policy. So the 10 days we have here at Wes-Del is the same as what I had in my previous history.
Sure.
You would have, actually my previous was 7 days. We have 7 days. So it's more of a board governance decision. I guess my question, so when I go through this, it says to allow for an efficient meeting, the total amount of minutes is 30 minutes, 2 minutes. Persons wishing to address the board on an agenda item. So it would be a specific agenda item.
Right, let's say we're talking about buses, and we have somebody comes in and says, hey, I want to talk about the buses. We could sit there and say, sorry, you didn't give us a notice. But then they would turn around and we would be okay for public comment. They could talk during that time.
Well, this is for public comment, right?
Yeah, so this is for public comment. And on E, it says to receive public comment on all agenda items scheduled for final action. The board will take speakers on a first come, first served basis according to the date and time of the speakers. Comment will rotate through the agenda items to ensure that the board hears comment on all agenda items. For example, the board would hear a comment from the first person registered to speak regarding the item, and then they go to the second person. And I understand where you're coming from.
Sure, I mean, I know we would probably say yes, but.
So how about this? I think that this is a sensitive area because 100%, I'll be the first to say it, where I've never upheld this even in my previous district. Because I do understand the need for public comment, and there's agenda items that pop up and they're like, how can you stifle someone? So my recommendation, I think, is this one of the last ones?
Well, wait a minute. Isn't this not for somebody that's doing a presentation for this, right? Is it not 10 days for it to be put on record for the notice for anybody that wants to attend if somebody's been doing a presentation?
Like an agenda.
Yeah, for the agenda.
So that's where I want to get clarity. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna reach out to legal counsel. So here's where we're at. This is the first reading.
Right.
Public comment.
This is perfect. This is what we want in the first reading. We have a question on something, we need to address it. Let me reach out to legal counsel because I understand where you're coming from. You're saying, how could someone know that they need to speak on something 10 days in advance when the packet's not even posted? There's a lot of questions to that. Let's keep moving forward.
I think it's 2 entities.
Well, just the way he was saying it, I took it as being, you had to sign it up, so I Is our policy, I guess my next one is what Shane's saying for the agenda. Is our agenda scheduled, is it 10 days out?
No, our agenda doesn't, that's the other thing, it's kind of questionable. It's like, so that's where it doesn't
So
make
that's
much
what Shane is saying, hey,
Yeah.
well, that's even, longer than what
Yeah,
we're doing right now.
yeah.
When does the agenda actually have to be finalized so it can be?
The agenda, so the agenda needs to be available, at least, I want to say 48 or 72 hours. Don't quote me on this, but it has to be a certain amount of time for the public to be able to see it in order to be able to go into a meeting.
So why shouldn't we correlate that?
This is a very good question.
3 days, I mean, that's pretty good.
Okay.
What's your thoughts, Larry?
So here's what we'll do. If you guys don't mind, I'll reach out to legal counsel and see what that looks like. And just for public comment, just for example, on this, so on our current superintendent, so intent with the superintendent no later than 10 days prior to the meeting, including. And we've been posting that every single one of our board
But
meetings.
that's to put an item on the agenda.
So let me add, so that's public participation
I think that would be public comment.
But see, but reading it, it says, any person or group wishing to place an item on the agenda shall register in 10 days. That's
Yeah.
not necessarily making a comment.
No, it's not
That would be-
comment.
The wording's not.
But participants should be limited to 3 minutes. All the language is very similar. So let me just unpack that.
Just be like.
I'll give you a better definition. It just, that,
I think it should be 2 entities. If somebody wants to be put on the agenda, then I think that needs to be whatever days that we need. If it's 3
Ahead of
days
time.
prior for the agenda, then why don't we mimic that and have it 3 days? Because you can alter it, modify it up to that time frame.
Yeah.
But if somebody wants to come in here and they want to have a 3-minute public comment, they have every right.
yeah, they do. And yeah, so open door policy states that there is an amount of time you're allotted. So instead of us getting hot water, we got first reading, we got questions.
Yeah.
I have questions. So let's go back and I'll bring to the legal counsel. So by the time I'll give you the board an update prior to, and then we'll come back with the second reading and hopefully I'll have the rectified.
We're taking an action on that.
No, no, this is just discussion.
Yeah, we do not need a vote on that.
Okay, so we're going to
1 second,
follow up
please.
on that, yep.
Page 225.
Sorry, I did not finish those. 3 more. Two.
Yeah, you're done.
No, you hit it.
Absolutely, sorry, I was gonna be 225, instead of page 225. Okay.
Okay, so the next item is the board policy updates. This is the second reading for batch number 3, the July policies. We discussed these last meeting. We are looking for approval of this batch number 3 policy updates.
I motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion on these?
Yeah, I asked for some clarity on the anti-bullying and where the school would be involved, like in summertime or over the internet or something.
Yeah,
If there was any clarifications, I didn't see it.
yeah, so very good question. I got a response from our legal counsel this afternoon, specifically on that topic. So if we could, before we approve it, we can table that one specific policy. I didn't get a word on it until today. So if we could just overlook the anti-bullying, I'll have an update to the board tomorrow.
200C. or
Yeah,
C200.
so if we can just do the approval of the second reading of all except for C200, because I remember that I did reach out to Mara on that. She gave us, I guess she gave us a red line version of what we can adapt to our school, and I'd like to talk with you on that. So before we approve that, I agree.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so we're looking to approve the second reading of batch number 3 policy updates, pulling out C200.
Anti-bullying.
We're gonna table that policy.
Well, I still motion.
You still motion it? Okay, do we need another second on the new updated?
You second
Motion.
motion still?
Yeah, still second.
Okay.
We'd
Any
have to
further
make a
discussion?
change.
Oh, that's all I had.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, those have been approved. Next item agenda, we've got Mr. Stover's 2027 budget workshop and board authorization to advertise the budget.
Okay, so, and this will be the second iteration I've been able to do this with Wes-Del. So this is our 2027 budget. Obviously, we're not into 2027, but I have to create the budget now for it to go into the next calendar year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys an overview of literally every one of our funds, educate you a little bit on these. And as a reminder, we'll do it right now at this time of year. There's some asks that I'm asking for the board in this moment, and then we'll reconvene back in June or January, and I'll do a board of finance update. So it'll be very similar to this, but the structure gives you guys a really good idea of kind of financially where we're at, what our debt rate's going to be, and everything included. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and get started. So budget 2027, the workshop. The first area of business is, and I really want to make sure the board's aware of every one of these statutory guidelines, but also our district. So we were supposed to have our board meeting on the 12th. We postponed it. We're here on August 25th. There's a couple steps. So first off, I'm going to ask the board to authorize for me to proceed with the 2027 budget advertisement. That's just me posting it so the community can see where we're at, and then we move forward with the process. So tomorrow, I know it says the 13th, the idea would be tomorrow is when I post that, so the community can see. As we go through the guidelines, August 28th is when we'll upload the proposed capital projects. So the capital projects plan and the bus replacement plan, and those I'll go over that a little bit today as well. And then August 28th is well, we'll post the proposed capital projects, all of that on the website. So both on the gateway and website, August 28th, we'll post all of that. And here's where the meat and potatoes come in. September 9th is going to be our public hearing. So that's going to be our next board meeting. We'll do a public hearing on our capital projects plan, bus replacement plan, and all of those. September 16th is the end of the 7-day taxpayer objection period. So we have an objection period as we go through this process. October 14th is board adoption. So we'll actually formally adopt our budget, our capital projects, bus replacement plan, all of that. October 21st is our target submission date through Gateway. That's when I want to try to get it put in Gateway. And then November 13th is the 30-day deadline following October 14th adoption. And then starting November 13th is when DLGF will start submitting 1782 notices to the district. 1782 notices, the state approving or telling us we need to adjust our budget. So basically we submit it all. Come October, we wait for a couple months, and then the state comes back and says, hey, you have 10 days to figure out if this budget works for you. We then at that point, when we get 1782, we have 10 days to work it out, then roll into the actual 2027 year. A couple state deadlines. November 2nd is the state deadline to adopt the budget. That's absolute deadline. So if you do not adopt your budget, so we're adopting ours October 14th. If you move past November 2nd, you take the budget you had from last year. So that's a no-go. So you don't want to do that because there's inflation. There's things you want to capture. November 9th is our state final deadline to submit. December 31st is the actual deadline for DLGF to submit 1782 notices. They have to do it within this calendar year for us to be able to put it for the next. Does anybody have any questions with the statutory guidelines on that?
So we're going to be doing, on the capital projects, dollar amounts on that as well?
So, and
At our next meeting?
Yeah, I'll cover tonight. So capital projects, and I'll explain it. Capital projects are anything that would exceed $10,000, and so it's not a bunch of things. So when we adopted the budget last year, we did $50,000 for both buildings, but I have a little more in the weeds on it this year. So the next one, the next next slide we have is our major budget funds. These are the big funds you hear about in the school world. Education, which is the 101 fund. The education fund is going to capture pretty much all of our salaries, benefits, and everything, all of our pay. So that's, and the support, obviously, textbooks and things for kids. In our debt service, I'll just go down to 200. Debt service is our fund we pay all of our bonds, all of our debt that we've incurred. Rainy day is exactly that. The rainy day fund is a slush fund. Hopefully you keep that money back in the event that something negative happens and you can pull out of it. Operations is facilities, transportation, bus replacement, keeping the lights on, all utilities. So those are the main funds. And then on here, I've also put the uses and the primary source. So when we look at education fund, where does that money come from? Education money is students. Each student has a certain amount that brings into the district. That's what pays our teachers. That's what pays everything. So when you see a decrease in student enrollment, that's where it gets dicey with paying the salaries. Operations is based on local property taxes. So that's how we keep our lights on and all the other things. Debt service, once again, is another taxable area. That's what pays for our bonds. Rainy day is excess funds that we put back for safekeeping. And then we don't have a referendum. I think 1 in 4 schools in the city of Indiana are going for referendums right now. We do not have a referendum, and we're not seeking one. The other one is debt capital referendum, and we don't have one of those either. So with that being said, does the board have any questions in funds? Okay, next one, and this would be our Form 3, and this is what I would need the approval from the board to post. I have put this on your in front of you guys. So what I've done is I've taken last year's budget. Last year's budget's at the top, and then I've put this current year's budget. Couple things that you're going to see a difference in. First one's rainy day. That's just appropriation amount. And I'll get to the rainy day. My recommendation for this year is appropriate $100,000 in rainy day. That would just say we're putting it there. Don't mean you have to spend it, but we have the ability to spend that. Debt service, we're looking at. We're looking at a budget estimate of $3,578,366. This one right here, and what you're going to see is this is higher than last year, but we have bonds rolling off. This is debt neutral. So what we're looking at in our debt service is, and like I said, we went through our bond. We just procured a $10 million bond. None of this will impact our debt rate in terms of operations. Debt. Education fund is a little bit higher from last year. Last year's was $7.24 million. We're looking at $7.317 million, and the state will not give you money that you can't have. So that's where that 1782 comes back. The last area is our operational, and this operations, if you see at the right, it's a 6% increase from last year. That is called the maximum levy growth quotient. The state will put a restriction on what our operations can grow on a year to year. Last year, our MLGQ was 4%. This year is 6%. So that 6%, the 6% you see right here is basically the 6% increase, not much, but 1810 there, 1882, 6% difference. So that's where, so that would be the difference on those. Does the board have any questions on those two funds? And like I said, if I were to put a ridiculous number for debt, put like 5 million in there, the state will not give it to you. They'll say, no, you can only have this amount. This is what you've been getting. So I want to be very clear. You can't just ask for all the money in the world and just get it. So this is very conservative numbers. And the idea is we estimate high with the intent that 1782 will bring some of those numbers down a little bit.
Andy, the top one's from last year, or
Yes.
26, the bottom's from 27.
Yes.
The operations is less, you're budgeting less for operations?
You're saying this overall amount?
Yes.
What you're gonna find is the difference in those amounts is gonna be stuck in here. Maximum estimated to be released with levies exempt from property tax allowance. So that's where you're gonna see the difference. You're not gonna see it here, you'll see it in that area. And I thought the same thing.
But well, I can't see it real well, but
It's on this paper.
I can't, yeah, it's not,
That's why I went up there too. Paper boarding, so.
oh,
That's last
last year's on here.
I have it, but I can read it better out there than I can on that.
That's $100,000 difference. Is that what I'm reading
You're saying on the budget estimate line 1?
on operations?
Yeah, you're saying
Year over year, it's down.
here to here.
Yes. And I don't know, I'm confused on, you say in line 3 there, it makes it up there.
He's saying that you have to look at the number in the column 3 versus the number in column 2.
Yeah, I'm
Based on,
saying,
like the levies or whatever.
because, yeah, so what I'm saying is
So
focus.
do you add them two together then? Is that what the total budget, I'm just not understanding.
No,
Go ahead.
no, I agree.
Yeah, you're saying the difference between the operational line on the budget estimate,
Well, from last year's to this year's.
you're saying you see the drop rate.
Yes.
Yeah,
And what I'm saying is, instead of looking at the budget estimate, we need to look at the levy. So I didn't clarify it the right way. What we need to do is look at levy. So instead of us looking at the budget estimate, what we have to do is look at the levy. Last year's levy was 1,810.
10, so 6.
So if you did 6% on our levy, what would that number, the 6% increase on our last year's levy should be exactly that number right there. So really,
How does that end up less though in the total operations fund?
on this side,
Yes.
that's a good question. I don't understand that. But this is mainly, we have to look at our levy because we set our operations based on levy. So I take levy last year and just look at 6%. I don't know why that's off.
Is that 6% from the 1810? Is that what you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
And going from the 1882?
That's 1.8 million. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, 1,810,000.
Uh-huh.
21.
So it's only $70,000, 6%.
It's going to be
Almost $2
$100,000.
million.
I guess my math is, so 6%.
72,400.
I guess that's right, yeah.
Okay.
So 1,000,000.
It's my math is,
Okay, $1,810,021 times 0.06.
Oh, I did 04, sorry. I was looking. No.
so 48 is 100. It's 100, isn't
There's a calculation here.
6% on a million would be 600,000.
it? If you,
Would be 60,000.
1810 times 6%, if I just.
Yeah, it'd be 108,601.
If I just do the 6, it's 48, carry the 4 is 108.
There's a calculation here on that document.
Yeah, 'cause I'm showing.
Okay, so what we'll do is, let me go back, because you're absolutely right, there is a calculation. It's off by roughly, I think, 40,000.
Yeah.
So let's go one past this. What we can do is we can approve this next board meeting. It's not gonna hurt our timeline. I wanna make sure this is 100% correct. Because the reality is our levy from last year, you can only increase it by 6%. I don't know why the number's not driving over there, and you're not wrong. So let me pivot from the operational point. I'll come back to that. Okay. So the next area, so to go back to education fund, the education fund is not supported by property taxes. The budget estimate is 7.317. The revenue we received from the education fund is from SNAP, TANF, and NESP and honors diploma. So all of that combined together with our student ADM count for October 1 and February 1. So that's where all that money comes from. And then what we can do is we can transfer 15% from education operations. And what we try to do is we'll do a resolution each year. We'll do 15% or 900,000, which one's higher? I guess, does the board have any questions when it comes to the 15% transfer and what that means?
Is that just state code? Is that what that is?
So it used to be a higher percentage. We can transfer, because education fund is driven from student tuition. So you can take some of that money to help offset operations. We have a circuit breaker loss. So when it comes to circuit breaker losses, last year we lost about 300,000. So we try to find ways to come up with that missing money so we can transfer from education operations to make the difference up.
Is that what they've done in the past, is the 15%?
Okay. And then debt service, once again, 3.578, and this is to cover all of the debts that we currently have. Of the debts we currently have, we have an ad valorem tax bond of 2013. We have a geo bond of 2014. We have an ad valorem property tax bond of 2023. Ad valorem of 28, geo bond of 24, the geo bond of 25, of which we were talking about for the wastewater project, and then the HVAC bank loan of 2025. So in order to pay for all of those payments, that's where our budget estimate is. and of which is tax neutral based on, the retirement of 2 old, debts.
So the tax rate's not changing.
No. So with the debts rolling off, we're assuming the payments we've paid in the past, and that's how we're doing it. Okay, operations, this is the question fund, because the equation seems to be a little off, and I do want to make sure that's right. So really, December proposed, based on where we're at, 3.063. The December 2026 estimated cash balance is $766,000. So when we look at our budget, we look at cash flows and how much money we have at the end of each calendar year. So when we look at December of 2026, I want the board to know that we'll have a reserve of $766,000 within there, maximum levy growth quotient. And once again, that's why I'm kind of reeling on that, on the numbers. I apologize, but yeah, the maximum levy growth quotient is set at 6%. So whatever our levy was last year, 6% growth, you can only get that growth. So I'm going to go back to the board on that. But up to 15% will be transferred from Ed Ops during 2027. This transfer will help support the planned operation fund expenses. Okay, rainy day fund. Once again, I said that we're going to appropriate $100,000 in rainy day for 2027. Rainy day fund balance. Right now, we're sitting at $237,603 in rainy day. Here is a projection of our rainy day balances for the last 9 years. And the goal for this year is to put money into rainy day. My goal is in December is to get our rainy day up to $500,000. And I'll show that to you in a minute. Capital asset plan. So capital assets are any expenditure that would exceed $10,000 within the 3 years immediately following the year that was planned adopted. So as we have been going through projects, these are projects that don't necessarily have to get done, but these are projects that we have indicated that have a desire to get updated. Middle school gymnasium, just an update on our floor and paint. The middle school gym has parquet flooring. It looks like the Celtics old gym floor from probably the same era, I assume 50s and 60s, but the issue is all the wood's popping up. We have a space that's not even usable at this point. So it really needs cosmetic updates, floor and paint. Middle school bathrooms, same. We have tiles. We've actually blocked off these bathrooms. Students aren't allowed to go into them because they're so bad at this point. So, and we have a need for it right now. So looking at bathrooms, cosmetic updates. And another thing is door lock and core replacement. At our key cores are bad at best, but basically where we're at is we've got a number of keys floating around. We don't know what keys go to certain areas. We don't have a key vault where you go and find a specific key. So one thing that I've been working with Mr. Essex on is developing some sort of key program. Actually go through and update the locks and all of that. So an administrator can get in every door. I sit here as superintendent, I can't get into half the places because I don't have the key or we can't locate it. So that's not necessarily just I guess that's the biggest concern is safety and be able to lock things out and get to it. So we're looking at that.
And that would be at both buildings.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it would be both buildings. Bus replacement. So the Indiana Code states that we only have to have a 5-year bus replacement plan. So the state says we only need a 5. What I've done is I've created a 13-year plan. Reason being, we have a number of lease rental buses, and the scenario on the reality is we've got a handful of buses on 5-year plan on a 5-year lease. We've got a handful that are on a 3-year lease. We own some, but we don't. So what I've done is I've taken the time to go through, and the board has an option for the link on here. You can click on that link. What I've done is I've color coordinated everything going out to probably 2041. 2041, mapping out the bus replacement schedule. And then what I try to do is look at lease rentals, purchase back from lease rentals to save money. So without me going into a full amount of detail, basically purple is purchasing new buses, looking out at 2029. The reality is we're in a lease, so when we lease our buses, we take on a commitment to spend $160,000 every single year on leases. In my previous experience, I've realized that if you have a fleet of buses and you own them, on a given year, if you decide not to buy a bus, you can save yourself $160,000 in that given year. So what we're doing is every year we're paying a payment that would equate to a brand new school bus. So every year we're paying a lease payment, and that lease payment is keeping buses on the lots, but it's not getting us forward at all. So what I've done is I've developed a plan. So the first 3 buses on here, the baby blue, by the time that we get to the end of the life expectancy or the lease of that bus, these buses are going to be at a lesser amount when you can buy them. So the plan is to stagger out purchasing some of these leases out, but at the same time, purchasing brand new buses to get to the point where we have an entire fleet that's owned by the district by 2035, which would be the purple filling all those gaps. We have some fluctuation years, but right now this is ticked down because we've taken ownership of 2 of these buses, so we see it tick down, but we're gonna have to build in some capacity, and through the bond process, we're gonna have to look at potentially buying buses here in the future to get out of the leasing agreements.
So once we get out of the leasing agreements and we have new buses, what kind of a plan or notion idea is there for, the PMs and then selling and buying new?
Yeah. So the reality is the state suggests you do a 12-year replacement plan.
12 years.
12 years. So 12 years, life expectancy of the bus can be 12 years. If you have in-house maintenance, you have mechanics, you have a lot of people.
So just shy of doubling the time that you own it.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to work through is we own a few buses. We have 3 buses that go off on lease in 2028. The idea would be purchase those buses because the reality, even in 2028, those buses only have 50 to 60,000 miles. We're not talking like 150,000 mile buses. And talking with a lot of people in the transportation world, or in school bus, in school transportation, the sentiment I typically get is we'd much rather have a bus that's broken in 30 or 40,000 miles. It actually works well. I had a little bus mechanic that really harped on that. And where I'm at is, you can stretch out a bus a little bit longer than you can a lease.
So on those leases, how old are those buses?
How old are those buses?
Yeah.
So on here, I put the
They're all
ages.
like 2021.
All these buses are 2021, so it's not even. So, and what I've also done is I've looked at life expectancy on buses. If it being 12 years, I've projected these out. So what you'll see is at 2029, 30, this is when we can buy the bus. The red that you see is at the very life expectancy. So I can tell you right now, this bus, 2016, is gonna be kaput in 2028. This bus right here is gonna be done there. We didn't have any formula, we didn't have anything, so I put time just to try to figure out how that would make sense. And what I tried to do is stagger it out where we wouldn't have humongous payments, but even though 2033, we're looking at 460,000 because at that point, we're gonna need 2 full-size buses and a minibus. It was intricate at that point. So that's our bus replacement schedule. The next area is our property taxes collected. So right now, property taxes at this juncture, we have June and December disbursements. We have not received our December. And anytime I look at our tax draws and I see 71% and we haven't even got to the second portion of the year, that's good. So what we have is we have estimated, we have the receive the date, and then we have the remaining estimated collection. Average daily membership, our ADM. So what we're looking at right now is 850. We have dropped a little bit from last year in the spring. Count date, the hard thing about it is, like, I look at that number now, I don't know what it's gonna look like in October. So we have 2 count days. We have an October 1 and February count day. Right now, we're hovering between 8:45 and 8:55 on a given day or a given week. So we've had kids coming and going. So right now, we're about, I think last time I checked this morning, 8:48. I made this document 2 weeks ago, but 8:48 is where we're at. Which, based on 8:48, that's looking like we're down 18 kids, which is not ideal. But when you have, I'll get you the kindergarten numbers. They didn't come in as high as what we anticipated. Kindergarten was one of the bottom.
That class last year was a big class.
Big class. You go from 70 to 40s, high 40s, low 50s. That's where the difference is. And you don't have a crystal ball. You do kindergarten roundup, you do all the things, but we don't know until they come in.
Are those the 70 kids, are they COVID babies? Time-wise?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right. Yes, the gentleman from Ball State did conduct a study on that and said 26 would be the year of inflation.
Yeah.
The next one is our education fund balances. So in 2020, education was at 1.6. We saw our education go down to 944,000. Our estimation for this year is going to be 1.566. So we're taking in the right direction. Cash balances are decent. I have not had a conversation with the distress units bill board since last year, so we're out of those neck of the woods. So financially, we're looking good. Let's see. And then notes, the basic tuition. So even though we were down number of students, the amount of money per student went up a little bit, roughly 100 and some odd dollars. So we saw a 1.96% increase on ADM. 2027 unfunded property tax credits were projected at 410,000. So when I say circuit breaker, those circuit breaker losses that we can't control, we're going to see a shortfall of $411,000. Last year we saw a shortfall of about $370,000. Through SCA Senate Enrollment Act 1. You see those numbers progressively get worse. Next year, it'll be a little bit worse than that. But we budgeted to assume that loss. And then once again, maximum levy growth quotient is 6%. And then if you have any other information, there's my contact info. So with that being said, the question on the operations fund, since we have a board meeting that's so quick, it's not going to interrupt our timeline. I'm just going to go ahead and update that and make sure I have it correct for you guys, because I do agree those numbers aren't correct. I don't know if, I don't have a justification for that, but I'll have those numbers reworked for you. So what we'll do is we'll table the approval to post until the 9th, and then I'll post it.
Okay, so we're gonna table this and come back to it, circle back to it next board meeting.
I just want to make sure I have.
Any other discussion? Okay, so then we will move on to the commission report.
Yes. First off, iRead 3 scores came in, I believe last week, 95.5% is really incredible. The state has went to an A through F letter grade scale now. So we will have an A through F grade scale for school corporations going into this year being the first, actually last year being the baseline. So when we get iRead 3, that's a huge tick in the right direction. If you guys remember, we had Todd Desson here in the spring. Todd went over the accountability model for schools. iRead 3 is a big portion of that. So that's a good check in the right direction. A couple other things, what we're driving for this year is 94% attendance rate for all students. That's a big push from the state. So Mr. Purdue and I are putting together like a scoreboard, a tracking system. We can keep track of that. We're asking to do attendance updates bi-weekly to make sure we help assist kids that might have issues with attendance. Nonetheless, the 95.5% is incredible. I appreciate the kindergarten teacher, first grade, second grade, third grade, really everybody. It's because we also test those kiddos in second grade. And based on Todd's comment yesterday, I believe we have somewhere between 45 and 55% pass in second grade, even before they get in third grade. So half of our third graders aren't even taking the test because they've already passed. So that's incredible. If you get a chance, please go out to athletic events. Wonderful game Friday night, 72-0. It's a lot of fun to watch that. I had the opportunity to go down to Edinburgh. We looked really good against Edinburgh. Our girls volleyball is working incredibly hard. They fought really tough against Muncie Central last week on Thursday. But I'm really impressed with our student athletes. So if you can go out to a sporting event, cross country, football, volleyball, anything, that'd be incredible. And also I want to thank all the teachers. We went through an incredible difficult time with the rain and the inclement weather. We had flooding in the buildings. We had, and not necessarily on the school front, but from the home front, we had a lot of teachers that had flooding, a lot of issues on that front. And I also want to keep Delta in our thoughts and prayers. They lost a young man that graduated last year that was about to go to Purdue the day before he passed. So really, really sad situation. So just, but nonetheless, really, really awesome start to the school year.
Thank you. Board comments, Mr. Bach.
I don't have anything to add.
Carrie?
A couple of them, very sad note, prayers goes to the, if I pronounce it right, the Beeman family for our bus driver there,
Yes.
Connie.
Yep.
Very, very sad. Wonderful family there, so. Good news, Friday we celebrated a check presentation from Thrive Credit Union of $2,000. Way back when, if you kind of remember, we had the debit card that they did. And it took that time frame, and we did receive that check. So we'll eventually decide what we'll do with that there. But it was presented at the football game, and it was for an amount of $2,000.
I have nothing at this time.
Brittany?
I don't believe I have anything.
No, again, just echo everybody's appreciation of everybody's hard work at the start of school year. It takes a lot to keep things going and get moving, especially with the storm and the rain and all the weather that was associated with it. So
I guess I do have a question. Will those days, will we be able to do a waiver for those as well?
Good question. It's not looking great.
Okay, I didn't know.
The governor pushes out a executive order. We got all that stuff. I'm working with the state right now.
I just noticed there's a lot of, everybody was affected
At
out there.
every school in Delaware County at least. And then, so we're all working through it. I've reached out on waivers. So stay tuned. That's where I'm at.
And we'll let everybody know. if
Yes.
There's updates on makeup days and things.
all right. Well, if there's nothing else, we're just looking to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Is there a second?
My second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The meeting now is adjourned. We appreciate everybody coming.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. And like I said, just send me an email, let us know. Thank you. He's really what we're at. Accepting things at this point. We haven't got that was a statutory requirement. That's what I got, like, as much as you can try to accept it quick.
My reading was ready.
I was like, hold on. Slowly getting there. Thanks for staying the whole meeting. I feel bad for you guys. If you would, if you read to like dismiss. At least you got a short one. It was pretty quick tonight.
I've written all mine down.
Thank you guys.
When we do a copy of a previous board meeting, I wonder if it populates it, because I haven't been looking in that area.
I was just reading, I was like, am I looking at the right? So then I was making sure she had the same information pulled up. I was like,
Yeah.
Oh, I said, yeah, Mr. Bailey will
Yeah.
present. Did it say that on the thing?
Yeah, what Paul was saying.
I don't know that anybody, I don't think